This is a Hyundai IONIQ, actually two Hyundai IONIQs, a hybrid and an electric model. Which one is better and in which conditions? Which one will better suit your needs? Watch this to find out.
The Hyundai IONIQ is a compact liftback which debuted in 2016. From a distance it looks a bit like the Toyota Prius or the Honda Insight. The IONIQ started in life as a hybrid as well, but soon enough it was joined by a pure electric and a plug-in hybrid version. In case of the ordinary hybrid, the petrol engine works with the electric motor in order to optimize performance and fuel economy. Whenever it makes sense, the car uses the electric motor, which temporarily aids or replaces the petrol engine. A small traction battery has just 1.5 kWh capacity. It is recharged with kinetic energy or excess energy from the petrol engine. In the plug-in hybrid, there is a 9 kWh battery, which you can charge from a home socket and drive up to 62 km on battery power only, before the car goes into classic hybrid mode. And finally, there is the IONIQ Electric, which has 38 kWh batteries and a WLTP range of around 300 km. Today I am comparing the hybrid and the electric. I've tested the pre-facelift hybrid 3 years ago and I want to see what's changed. And I like electric cars because they are supposedly the future of motoring. I'll start with the exterior. The facelifted Hyundai IONIQ has a new grille with a larger logo. There are also new headlights, no noticeable changes on the sides. In the back there are new tail lamps. The electric version has a slicker grille with two automatically opening vents and it lacks a tailpipe. There are more differences on the inside, but we'll get to that later.
The IONIQ Hybrid should use on average between 4.4 and 5.2 liters per 100 kilometers according to WLTP. The pre-facelift model was tested according to NEDC and it was supposed to use between 3.5 and 4 liters per 100 kilometers. Obviously, the WLTP result is more realistic, so everything should be in order, only it's not. 3 years ago in my test, the car used just below 5 liters per 100 kilometers, and in this car, my best result was today, Sunday morning, 6 o'clock, empty rows, 5.1 liters per 100 kilometers. The best result I got ever. 3 years ago, I drove the car in similar weather conditions and on the same road, so there is no reason for this discrepancy. Moreover, the facelifted IONIQ has 3-stage recuperation system, so it should be even more efficient. But it's not. The IONIQ Hybrid has 141 horsepower, 19 more than the Prius, and it is also slightly slower than the Prius. 0 to 100 km per hour takes 10.8 seconds in the IONIQ, 10.6 in the Prius, just in case if you want to race them. However, the Prius is optimized for efficiency, and the IONIQ, it seems a bit confused as to whether it wants to be efficient or engaging and fun to drive. In my opinion, the steering and suspension in the IONIQ are much more pleasant for the driver than in the Prius, and thanks to using 6-speed DCT instead of CVT like in Prius, the IONIQ feels fairly agile in sport mode. Yeah. Because in eco mode, it doesn't. Interestingly enough, I observed the IONIQ Hybrid is more efficient in extra-urban environment than in urban environment, something you'd not expect from a hybrid vehicle. I achieved 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers driving extra-urban, whereas in the city I struggle to get below 6.
Here I need to add that the day after the recording was much warmer, close to 15 degrees Celsius instead of 2-3 above freezing. On the same route, the IONIQ Hybrid achieved below 4.5 liters per 100 kilometers, so temperature does have significant impact on economy. A few words about the interior of both cars. In the hybrid model, two main changes are visible versus the pre-facelift car. There is a new instrument cluster and a new central panel with a larger infotainment display and mostly touch-operated climate control panel. The instrument cluster now presents more information at the same time, which should help achieve better economy. The infotainment system is intuitive, but as far as I'm concerned, the most important feature is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support. I am not a fan of the touch climate control panel, 1, because it has no physical buttons, 2, because this large black shiny surface is prone to collect dust and fingerprints. Otherwise, the IONIQ Hybrid cockpit is well laid out. Door pockets accommodate medium-sized bottles, and there are cup holders, a smartphone shelf with an induction charger, medium-sized glove box, and storage under the armrest. Next to the armrest, there is a place for a tablet or a notebook. This test car also gets ventilated and heated seats, as well as heated steering wheel. In the back, the legroom is sufficient, but there is a small tunnel running through the middle. And headroom is not brilliant, especially if you are taller than 175 centimeters. There are no charging ports, but the side seats are heated. The boot has around 450 liters volume. The finish has improved. Instead of a chipboard with some felt on it, there is now a proper double floor with some plastic containers underneath. The boot has a very regular shape, which makes it easy to pack luggage. There are still no shopping bag hooks, but there is an elastic net to secure loose items. The IONIQ Hybrid boot is smaller at just 360 liters with small storage under the floor, possibly for a charging cable. Space in the rear is similar, with the only difference being a slightly taller center tunnel in the electric car. Differences are easier to spot in the front, where there is a slightly different presentation of data in the instrument cluster, and there is a lot of free space in front of the center stack. There are also buttons instead of a gear selector lever. This is still a very pleasant and well laid out interior. I'd say it is better quality than in the Hyundai Kona Electric, where there are a lot of hard plastics. In the IONIQ Electric, many surfaces have rubber lining, so no rattling keys, for example.
Hyundai promises the IONIQ Electric has over 300 kilometers WLTP range. Let's calculate. 38 kilowatt-hour batteries, 13.8 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers. That gives us 275 kilometers range. Extra range can be achieved using recuperation. That's what the paddles are for on the steering wheel. Or you can set the recuperation into automatic and the car will choose recuperation level based on the situation on the road ahead, just like in the Kia electric models e-Soul and e-Niro. Something I found missing in the electric Kona was an indicator that shows you how much energy you've recuperated. It's here now. If not for the different center console, I might not notice which version of the IONIQ I'm driving. Both have good suspension with impressive damping. Perhaps thanks to lower center of gravity, the electric model corners slightly flatter, but you're not buying an EV to carve through corners.
The IONIQ's aerodynamic shape helps keep things quiet on the motorway. It's not as quiet on regular roads where you pass cars going in the opposite direction. Those you can hear, and it's the same in the hybrid as well as the electric.
So, you know what the IONIQ looks like inside and how it drives. And now I will tell you how the hybrid and the electric model perform in the city and on the open road. And I will compare the costs. Let's go!
We're starting from a petrol station on the outskirts of Warsaw, and we need to get to a business district across town. It's maybe 12 kilometers in a straight line. The shortest route is about 18 to 19 kilometers, and the route suggested by the sat-nav is 26 kilometers. In Warsaw, the IONIQ Electric can use bus lanes, so the shortest route across town makes sense. The hybrid will be faster, avoiding the city center. It's 8 a.m. Let the race commence.
And we have set off from a petrol station which is on the outskirts of Warsaw. Now, Anna will drive right across the city where there are long bus lanes, which should make her considerably faster. And I'm driving according to Google navigation directions. And I have about 40 minutes to get there according to SatNav, but I'm taking some route through the outskirts of Warsaw, so I'm actually going all the way around the city rather than across it. I don't have the bus lanes which an electric car in Warsaw can use. I'm driving a hybrid. Even if I were driving a plug-in hybrid, I wouldn't be able to take advantage of the bus lanes. So driving an electric car has one advantage in Warsaw, as long as you live somewhere and work somewhere where there are bus lanes along, because she has the advantage of taking very, very long bus lanes. They're not along all routes in Warsaw. Once we get there, we're going to a Vietnamese joint for a banh mi sandwich, which is excellent. And you know what? I started liking their vegan pate meatloaf kind of thing. I dig it. Anyway, enough about food. Let's concentrate on driving, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I was just stuck in a bit of traffic for maybe 2 minutes or so. That was just before a right turn, so that's virtually nothing. I'm surprised how Google navigation can lead me out of traffic. Now, one thing I should mention here, we are in the middle of a winter break, so the traffic isn't apparently as bad as I expected at 8 o'clock in the morning. But we are going into a business center, and in this business center, which is appropriately called the Mordor, actually it's called something else, but people who work there call it the Mordor, there's bound to be some traffic. My fuel economy at the moment is 7 liters per 100 kilometers from start. I started 2 kilometers away from the petrol station, so any difference is insignificant. 6.9 right now. I spoke to Anna, who's driving the other car, the electric car, and she has at least 10 minutes advantage over me. Obviously, she's taking the shorter route, and she is using bus lanes, so she's not stuck in traffic, as I will be in a couple of kilometers. So I see from SatNav. It says it's going to add 5 minutes to my route because there is a traffic jam somewhere around. And inevitably, I found traffic, and there isn't much of it, but you know, there is some traffic. And now I'm using only 6 liters per 100 kilometers from start. I drove for 22 kilometers almost, and I have 7 kilometers to go and more than 16 minutes to cover this distance. Now, in traffic, this is where the hybrid should really shine. This is where I should really get a better result. Now, this car now has these paddle shifters, which shift gears if you put it into sport mode, but in eco mode, they actually activate, and they activate recuperation. So there are 3 stages of recuperation, and recuperation really helps you get a better result. Slowly but surely I am approaching the Mordor, and as you may or may not know, one does not simply walk into the Mordor. Now, I've spoken with Anna on the phone just a couple of minutes ago, and she is like 5 minutes ahead of me. Now, I should stress again that today is the middle of the winter break, so many people are not at work, they are somewhere skiing, etc. And I'm stuck here in drizzle, plus 2 degrees outside. And it's actually Valentine's Day today as I'm recording this, so being a romantic like I am, I'm taking Anna to this Vietnamese joint in a business park center of Warsaw. I will do the math at the end, once we have the results in from the city and from the motorway and country road loop. I mean, let's face it, an electric car in Poland doesn't make sense, and that's my conclusion right away. It may one day make sense to buy an electric car in Poland. I don't know what it's like in your country. I hope you let me know in the comments below. And for now, I'm just looking forward to my Valentine's Day's breakfast.
After breakfast, we went on a 150-kilometer route, which includes motorway, dual carriageway, and regular country roads. The speed limits in Poland are 140, 120, and 90 kilometers per hour, respectively, and I am trying to keep up despite the weather. Because of the weather, I also decided it would be wiser to focus on driving rather than talking to the camera, so we only got a couple of driving shots for cutaways. What did we learn? A disclaimer, the winter break definitely affected our city result because the IONIQ Electric got to our stopover only 5 minutes before the IONIQ Hybrid. The Hybrid used 6 liters per 100 kilometers and drove 29 kilometers. The electric car used 16.2 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers and drove for 22 kilometers. The time difference is negligible, but I will try and repeat the route in another car in proper traffic. After the second part of the test, the Hybrid indicated 5.2 liters per 100 kilometers and the electric car 15.4 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers. To keep things simple, I will now use Polish prices converted roughly into euro. You'll have to substitute your local prices and do your own math. Both cars covered around 180 kilometers, so the Hybrid used just above 9 liters for €1.15 per liter, I checked in the morning, which gives us just below €11. It would take about 5 minutes to refuel. Charging almost 28 kilowatt-hours from a 50 kilowatt fast charger would take more than half an hour and cost, under my plan, over €14. At home I would charge for 14 to 15 hours, but it would only cost me €3.75, which is about a third of the cost of fuel. Both cars are in top spec. In Poland, the IONIQ Hybrid costs €33,000 and the IONIQ Electric costs almost €46,000. If you can charge at home and you drive about 100 kilometers a day, it will take almost 9 years to offset the €13,000 price difference. Of course, there are also servicing costs as well as resale value, taxes, incentives, changing prices of fuel and energy, possibility to install solar panels, and many other factors to consider. Again, these calculations are for Poland, where at the moment there are no incentives to buy electric cars other than driving in bus lanes. I am curious to know your calculations. Feel free to share them with me in the comment section below this video.
With results like this, are you ready to switch to an electric car, or would you rather play it safe with a hybrid? And how do you like the Hyundai IONIQ anyway? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell to be up to date, and by the way, I post every Friday. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.